the summit. So it's really all around the summit. The summit is coming very quickly, and so really 4 points. There's the contributor code. If you've contributed software, bug ideas, bug reports, documentation updates, whatever, you could use the contributor code to register. And it's been sent out to the mailing lists. Ping Swarna if you've contributed and haven't seen that email or need help finding the code. We're happy to help there. We did the first set of talk acceptance notifications, just so people understand there are additional tracks that haven't been announced yet. So if you've gotten a waitlist notification, that means that that you may very well be, or you're probably still in consideration for some of the additional tracks. So just keep that in mind. That was the first wave. We usually do 2 waves worth of schedule updates. Let's see. So today we did announce that schedule is live. We've got some of the initial keynotes as part of that announcement. It's a good blend of both CF-centric talks and demos, as well as we'd like to add a little bit of brain food for everyone that doesn't necessarily relate directly to Cloud Foundry. There's some talks on different ways to think about development processes and empathy and things like that. Last point she has here is early bird registration. So for those of you that aren't contributors, and 23 is the last day for the early bird pricing. So I won't sell that hard, but I think there's largely a good number of contributors here on this call. So either way, that ends on January 23rd.
Cool. Do you happen to have statistics that you can share with us in terms of like number of submissions, acceptance rate, things like this?
I do not know.
Okay. I see Chris. Chris, can you share that now? Maybe we can wait next time. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I think this question of essentially the stats comes up always, so might as well ask it now. But maybe we can share it next time. So.
Yeah, I think so. We have to get through. I mean, it's not worth telling, giving that out at this point, even though if I had it, it's not in front of me. But we're going to go through another wave of the additional tracks, right? And at the end, sure, happy to tell you, how many and what the acceptance rate was, that sort of thing. A lot of really good quality stuff through this.
I also want to make sure we can fit everybody in your backyard, Chip, right? No.
You.
So for people that don't know, it's gonna be in Philadelphia, and Chip is from there. So I think we're all making sure we're ready to go see him. But anyway, cool.
I'll get a bus rented. It's about an hour drive north, so I'll get a bus rented, bus you up, nice. And I'll cook burgers or something.
You don't need to worry about space for me. I'll be eating cheesesteak all week. I'll be eating else in cheesesteak crawls.
That's fine. If you want to get my dogmatic opinion about which is the right one to go eat, let me know offline.
I actually do. I actually will.
Okay. I will join you for that, Jules. We can go together.
This has got to be the summit evening party, right? All attendee reception. Chip's favorite cheesesteak restaurant.
Yeah, and it's definitely not going to be either one of the 2 famous ones.
That is the cheesesteak track.
All right.
So I'm assuming no other questions for Chip or the CFF, other things related to or different. No. Okay, cool. So I see Eric. Eric always gives us an update on, I guess, runtime and what's going on with Diego and stuff. So maybe you can tell us.
Hey, Dr. Max. Yeah, thanks. I'll cover some of the highlights over the past month. It's been a little quieter on account of the winter holidays. But one main thing that people want to watch out for is release integration is about to release version 7 of CF deployment. And they've noted that this is going to require a migration from the old MySQL release to the new PXE MySQL release if you're using that as your backing database for the deployment. So watch out for that if you haven't done it already. I think they're polishing up their migration instructions to make sure that they're pretty solid. One other thing, the CAPI team is continuing to polish their zero downtime app updates, and they're also continuing to close out their API metadata track. So they'd certainly appreciate feedback on those things. They also recently broadcast a link out on CFDev soliciting app developer feedback in general. So I've put a link into the CAB agenda there in case you get the opportunity to give them some feedback or tell your developers about that. I think also the CLI just released a new minor version, 6.42. And one of the major features there is they've added some flags on the network policy commands to support setting up network policies across orgs or spaces. So previously you've been able to do it easily between apps in the same space. And it's giving you some more flexibility there. A few other highlights, routing and container networking are continuing to collaborate on getting the container envoys to dynamically direct traffic between containers transparently. So it's a complicated bit of work, but they're making progress on that. It's also related to the Istio integration. The dynamic configuration of the envoys comes from Istio Pilot. Services API, they've mentioned that they're continuing to work on some stories to allow multiple registrations for the same service broker. So it seems like this is something that has come to a head with space scoped service brokers, where you might be accidentally stomping on a global registration by seeing a thumbs up from Bernd there. If you register a service broker with a URL, then you can't register it elsewhere in the platform, I assume, including in a different space. And then Garden is continuing to work on better reporting about CPU usage for app containers. And they're also continuing to progress on adopting Containerd as taking one step up the complexity stack in terms of container creation and management. Anyway, there's some previous updates from December, but a lot of those other team activities are still ongoing, so not significant updates there.
Cool. I see Jules there. Do you want to talk about Brexit, or you want to tell us about Irini? Mention something, anything? No? Or you want to stay quiet?
The world is not falling apart. The world is not falling apart. It'll be fine.
Get out of my head. That's what I've been repeating to myself most of the last 24 hours. Everything's fine, and that was a Irini update. Is not a Brexit update. Irini's going really good though. Irini is now passing the CATs, so it's we're just starting to work on the kind of the non-functional requirements. So functionally, it works how you'd expect, and now we're doing the things like making sure that it's highly available, so you can run 2 copies and those things that you'd want in order to run it in production.
Let's see, any questions for Eric or Jules or even Yui? I see you over here. No. Okay, so for Bosch, we usually go to Fred. I don't know if he's here, I don't see him, but hopefully he's here. Fred?
No, he's not. I'm covering for him today.
Ah, okay, go ahead.
So let me find my notes I took for this. Toronto Bosch team has been working on figuring out some cert rotation so we can more easily rotate certs. I think in particular talking with CredHub to figure out what the interface and contract for that should look like. In SF, we've been doing a pretty extensive track of work that Chris Brown originally PR'd to enable configuring job credentials to be stored on a tempfs rather than on persistent disk. We're hearing quite a lot of feedback from various banks about that. And then we're also getting close. We cross-team paired with Diego last week on Bosch DNS links being scoped to jobs rather than instances for healthiness to help with some stability. And then the Europe Bosch team has been working on figuring out some parallel resurrection work as well as some slow deploy issues that they noticed.
Cool. Thank you, Morgan. Any question so far for Morgan or even the runtime guys? No? Okay, so for extension, it's going to be very easy because we haven't had our call. Our call happens Monday after this, so basically next week. But the good thing is we have at least one of the projects that is going to give you an update. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just pass it along to Nikolai from SAP, who's gonna tell us about what he's been doing in his team on multi-apps. If you remember last year, I think they gave us an update halfway to the year, so this is sort of an early one. And then, so Nikolai, you have about 20 minutes, and then after that, we'll switch. Well, you can probably take 25, and then it will be Shannon for networking of Foundry. So go ahead. I see you sharing your screen already, so let me quiet.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nikolai.
Hello, guys. I'm Nikolai joining from SAP. I would not take the 20 or 25 minutes, probably would fit in 10, max 15. So I will give you a project update from the multi-apps extensions project from the Max area. And I would do that with a demo. So just briefly, I would actually open this this picture here. This is an app we are usually using for demo purposes. It is a Spring Music, but enhanced one. It has the standard Spring Boot application that is hosting the UI, but we enhance that with some news around music, and there is also some external news, which is coming from outside, not managed by us. And here is also the standard database service instance, in our case, Postgres. And yeah, again, multi-apps in short, it provides you this declarative model where you can actually describe several Cloud Foundry entities, apps, services, routes, etc., all kinds of artifacts, and actually manage them as one lifecycle unit. And going directly to my Spring app, I would actually show you directly the declarative model. So this is the declarative model. This is we call it the deployment descriptor. So here I have an abstraction layer, modules and resources, and actually the resources are usually mapped to backing services or external services or configuration. So here you can see our PostgreSQL resource that would be created out of my automated deployment of the Spring Music app, and there is also one user-provided service that I haven't configured here. So nothing new at this point of time, but what we introduced in TAP in the last months is this parallel deployment of all the stuff from our multi-app. So I have two services that would be created, but the important stuff is these modules. This would be actually materialized as Cloud Foundry applications. And right now I have two, the Spring Music Web. This is the Spring Music, the Spring Boot classical app, and I've developed one Node.js application as well. And actually these two could work independently of one another. So they don't have any dependency and could be deployed in theory in parallel, actually speeding up the overall deployment. But if there were actually some kind of deployment dependencies, then this is the kind of modeling that is needed here, this deployed after. So this is kind of enforcing the dependency graph between the different modules that we have. And I have this declarative model. Right now, what should I do? Actually, for sake of packaging or publishing or transporting of my application between accounts or even Cloud Foundry landscapes, I could actually assemble it using this command, which would actually create an archive. So we are here talking about an application archive containing all of the binaries of these applications. If we go back to the descriptor, you can see that all these modules have paths. So all this is packaged here and possible for actually transports and deployments. And what is new? Again, the parallel deployment modeling plus this packaging concept via this MBT assemble tool. Till now, we've used Maven plugins for the assembly of the multi-app, and I actually could, with just a single command, just deploy the the multi-app. But together with the deployment, I would also pass a runtime configuration, actually this deployment-specific configuration, which is this file here. So these are some stuff that I want to change from my descriptor that goes to the archive. So this is things that you might want to change from deployment to other deployment, like for instance this concrete URL of this external user provided service that I said is providing the external news. So that's it, just deploying it. So again, packaging, this is our client. It would upload the archive to our backend component, which is directly talking with the controller to actually automate the end-to-end deployment of the application. Again, this is used at SAP with actually thousands of deployments per day. Here we are talking to the V2 Cloud Controller API, and on the plan is actually to utilize the V3 and actually do a rolling update deployment as part of our automation here, actually achieving a true ZDM update for the applications. And yeah, as you can see here, actually the creation and also the uploading of the apps is done here in parallel, following the dependency graph that you've modeled in the descriptor, which might not be that big kind of performance deploy time gain for this app, but for bigger applications that are modeled for these purposes as a multi-app, the performance gain is rather significant. We have performance speedups from like 20 minutes to 7 minutes at SAP. So yeah, this is are the recent updates, and again here I've built the multi-app, and I think another thing that we are working right now is that the deploy command would work also from directory without even the need to package the multi-app, but directly deploy from directory or just deploy one of the modules of the whole multi-app. Is another thing that would support incremental development and deployment of just single entities. Yeah, do you have any questions, kind of feedback or the experience?
Can you show the YAML that I guess you had to put together?
Yeah, this is the YAML that is used for declarative description of the whole application. I actually haven't walked you through all the features, but just highlighted the most important ones. We have the modules, the resources, the dependencies between these. Actually, via this notation requires I model service bindings. So yeah, I have creation of backing services, service bindings, configuration of these, and also this powerful notation for placeholders that, for instance, when you deploy an application, for instance, this default URL would be resolved to the URL assigned by the platform on deployment time. And you can, for instance, expose this and actually inject it in another application environment.
Cool, thank you. Let's see if there are any other questions.
Yeah. Actually, all of these examples are also available on our GitHub repo, so you can check it out directly there, together with the description files. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikolai. Let's see if Shannon is here. I know he told me that, 1/2 the hour.
I don't see him, so.
Okay, that's awkward. I'm sure. Let me see if I can ping him on he's on his way. This is supposed to be good, so it's gonna be a little bit of the updates, not only Istio integration with Cloud Foundry, but specifically the traffic splitting. So maybe let's give him a few minutes, and if not, I guess we'll end early. But I know he did tell me that he would have to start around past the hour, so maybe let's give him a few minutes. Wayne, can you entertain us during that time? No, I didn't mean that.
Oh, I thought it was a circus show.
No, it's fine.
I could share my screen, but that'd be awkward.
No, you don't have to do that. Let me ping him.
Swarna's advocating for Jules to rant about Brexit some more.
I was gonna suggest that, but I feel like he's in pain. It looks like
I promise you.
He should be happy though, right?
You be careful what you wish for. You start me off now, and I'll still be going by Summit. I mean, I guess
it's a good thing for you, right? There's gonna be a new vote. Life is good. No, am I?
Nobody knows
it
what they're all doing. It's all unknown.
There's someone's pulled the pin out of the grenade. No one has any clue how to put a pin back in the grenade, and everyone's just kicking the grenade further and further away. But I mean, it's still a grenade, so yeah, nothing much has changed.
Whereas everybody else in the EU is kind of got popcorn, and they're just watching this like, whoa, this is almost as interesting as American politics.
I think everyone else is kind of looking at us going, do you know that that's a grenade? That's going to explode, you guys. We know.
Should have stuck to Kubernetes.
That's fine. We're serving hamburgers at our president's residence, so it's good.
Any hamburgers? It's just McDonald's. Just saying.
Hey, there was some Wendy's in there, a fillet of fish.
There was some Wendy's, some Burger King.
Yeah, someone said hamburgers. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Do you see the boots? They're all out of hamburgers, but they're serving hamburgers all day. It's pretty good.
Brett, are you getting paid?
Yes.
I am being paid. The Cloud.gov team is funded from the Acquisition Services Fund, which is not a congressional appropriation. A lot of people we rely on are not getting paid. It is not fun here right now, and people are very unhappy. An immigrant from South America who is a highly skilled engineer, and he feels like his country doesn't want him anymore. So he's looking for other jobs.
So for people that are on the call that are from a different country than the US, the government of the United States is actually shut down. And that's what they're talking about here. So some people are not getting paid.
People are literally furloughed. They're not working and not able to work and not able to take other jobs in the meantime. And there are a lot of people who are considered essential and are being called back to work and being forced to work even though their paycheck is zero. And then the government is deciding case by case who is essential and bringing people back. So this includes apparently people who run oil auctions. And as you can imagine, with the agency so lightly staffed, it's an opportunity for all kinds of shenanigans to happen without any kind of oversight. It's really, really bad. It's a completely manufactured crisis, and it's a self-own. And if you were deliberately trying to destabilize the United States, it's exactly what you'd want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the lack of inspections of a number of things is also like incredibly worrying, like from the planes to the food to lots of things.
The MO for bringing people back seems to be what will the public notice or what will business get mad at, rather than like what do poor people need, or what is good for safety. It's really abysmally awful, and there's a significant contingent of this country that wants people to believe the government's not essential, and so they're trying to carefully not have people get bunged up at airports, because then people would recognize the government is essential. They want to make the case that it's not needed. So yeah, this is it's really bad. As a federal worker, it just feels incredibly shitty to be taken advantage of in this way and used as a football. Can somebody else make that noise again? That was really fun, the little circus noise, because that was more fun than this.
Yeah.
It also happens to fit the situation, because this really does feel like this.
Soundtrack for 2019.
Well, I was looking for the shit show button, but it's not here. Actually, the funniest thing that I've seen recently, also the saddest thing recently, is there was I don't know if it was CNN or whatever. I was going through the airport the other day, and they had the byline of the news article on the government shutdown was literally "shut-show" was the byline. I did brilliantly done for whoever that news agency was, but at the same time, it's also very applicable.
Yeah, somebody earned their pay that day. That's awesome.
I don't hear from Shannon, but let me plug this one thing quickly as we're waiting. And then if he doesn't join, I guess in the next 2 minutes, then we can close it. And then we resume next time. Let's see if I can share my screen. Actually, I don't have to share my screen, but the key thing I want to mention is that we have this survey running. And I guess if we don't get Shannon today, that's good feedback for me to make sure people can join at the right time. But I know he did tell me he would join after class, so it's on me here. But anyway, the survey is 3 questions. It's if you have not taken it, don't be afraid. You click on the link and you get there. It's like simple questions. I think the first question is, have you joined the cap call? How often, and so on. And then there's always an opportunity for you to fill in answers in addition to drop down. And then the second question, I think, is what you liked and what feedback that you have. And then I think the last question is how to make it better. I'm gonna use the responses. I think I've gotten quite a bit of responses already, like about 25 or so. But I haven't checked recently, so I don't know if there's more. And if you remember last year, what I did is I tried to create some graphs around, not only the common responses, because every question has a set of responses that you have to select, and then also kind of like a tag cloud of the text that people entered. So take it seriously. Let us know. The point is to make it better for everybody, right? So take some time. All right. Let me to see if Shannon join us, and then.
I guess I joined the meeting late. I don't know if anyone talked about Sforna's email asking for thoughts on contributor activity at Summit. But
no, so that's a good topic to discuss. Go for it, Yui.
Swarna, are you able to talk about it, or?
Yeah, sure, I can. Thanks for bringing it up. So I sent an email to the CFDev mailing list a couple days ago. I think we got feedback from the community that at summits we need to have a little more focus or increased focus to bring value even to the contributors, whether it is providing a forum only for the contributors to discuss or share feedback or discuss a roadmap or the upcoming plan for the projects, or even for the end users to come talk to the contributors and see if they can provide any feedback or such. So I was trying to see, before we decide on a format or something, I wanted to get the same feedback from the same folks from the community to see how how we can make it a really more efficient and valuable activity there. Would a format of a parallel track, maybe, would that be the right choice? Or would a dedicated room with specific moderated topics, which is more like I guess an extension or a really formal office hours kind of format, but with more structured and more dedicated timings, so that its focus is not just as broad as anything office hours related, but more particularly in relation to the specific topic or specific feedback for that discussion or for that topic. So I was trying to get few thoughts from the community before we finalized a specific format for the contributor activity. And also, should it be a day zero activity, or should it be in parallel to the rest of the events that are happening on day 0, 1, and 2, so that it's all through the event. So if you have any feedback, do send me an email, or if you have anything and would like to share some here, I'm all ears. And thanks, Yui, for bringing that up.
Yeah, I'm excited about trying to put some effort and provide some additional things for individual contributors to do. While I enjoy the hallway track very much, a little bit more structure, I think, could help.
Yeah, I'd second that too. That makes sense. Let's see.
Yeah, the discussions could be on existing projects, or even for brand new contributors that are just trying to get their feet wet on trying to figure out how do we get started, where do we get started, who do we pair up with, how do we pair up with, or what is pairing, all these kind of things. Like, it can be anything really broad, but if we have some structure around it, I think it will be extremely a good use of time for everybody. And for specifically contributors that are attending Summit, it'll be more valuable for them.
Okay, cool. So I don't see Shannon. He's not on Slack. He did tell me he could only start after past, and we have 5 minutes past that time. So maybe he can do it. So I'll give everybody back 25 minutes, and then we'll figure out what to do about the update. Certainly, I guess the plug for him is that if you're interested in traffic splitting as a feature, it got released recently, and that's what he was going to show. So you can probably look at the repo that I included in the link, and then hopefully also on Slack, the CF network team, or at least the routing team and the different Slack channels that they have. So unless there are anything else, we close early and we give everybody back 20-25 minutes. Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. Talk next time. Hopefully a little bit better. I'll be live at Pivotal. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.